Good evening, everyone. How are we doing? We are live for TC Weekly. This is the 28th of March, 2021. How are you all doing? I'm, of course, joined by my fantastic co-host, Mr. TrekLad, aka Michael. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm back. He's got me back. Hello, everyone.
We caught him again.
Doing well.
Before we start, I saw someone in the chat say, I thought this was a stream with actors from Discovery, and I'm like, well, unless they want two madmen to be on the bridge of Discovery, no, unfortunately it's not. You've got us instead. But hey, it's going to be fun anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Captain Jack, TrekLad. What more do you
What
want?
more
right?
could you ask for? Honestly, it's like the ultimate Star Trek stream ever. We'll go with that one. I'll never know the difference.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's good to be back again. Obviously, last week we were here discussing Star Trek as per usual. This week we're discussing Star Trek Discovery Season 4 delays and what we could be up to, as well as an interesting discussion on the Litverse side of things for Star Trek, which is getting very cool. I'm just adjusting audio if anyone wondering. I'm a bit low at the minute, so we'll go from there. TrekLad, what have you been up to this week? Obviously, yeah, been an interesting week. Nothing major this week in terms of news or Star Trek stuff, but how's your week been?
Yeah, what we like to call a slow week in
A
the
normal
Star
one.
Trek world. Yeah, at half impulse, I would say, is probably an accurate description for the week. But there's still some stuff to talk about. As you mentioned, we're going to get into the Litverse, which I've got some admissions to make. And yeah, I mean, with regards to what I've been up to, not much. I've been dabbling actually in the Battlestar Galactica universe, and I got a notification last night on my phone, and I got really excited because Eagle Moss have finally restocked the Battlestar Galactica model. So I ordered that, you know, before you could even say frack, I'd ordered that, and it's arriving tomorrow, and I cannot wait. I've heard some good things about that model, so that's what I've got to look forward to. But yeah, how is everybody doing in the chat? Come say hi.
Yeah, chat, do say hello while we're here. I mean, more than 100 of you watching right now. If everyone give a like as well, we might get to 100 likes. So yeah, there we go. Missing Dom. Unfortunately, Dom is not here tonight. He's feeling a bit under the weather. Don't worry, he's totally fine. No, he'll hopefully be back with us next week, where we'll hopefully have a special guest as well, as we discuss Star Trek First Contact Day. That is in April. Next week's stream will be on April 3rd, 4th? I can't remember the date exactly. 7 days time. April 4th, which I believe First Contact Day is April 5th, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So we'll be doing a special one.
Holiest of holy days for the Star Trek fan community.
It's going to be very fun to like discuss it as well. I can't wait because First Contact is always like a really interesting storyline in Star Trek. It's a big event in the Trek world as well.
Yeah, and like none of us really need an excuse to watch that film again, do we? Really? But you know, we'll be like, oh,
I think I might watch it, to be honest. Now you've mentioned it.
If I have to watch it,
You're twisting my arm. You're twisting my arm. I'll have to watch it now.
Fainted to the head, you know, I'll switch it on. Yeah.
Chat, you forced us to have to go and watch Star Trek First Contact now. Oh, for humanity. Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. Anyway, before we dive into all of today's news, etc., if you do want to keep up to date with Trek Central Weekly, you can, of course, catch our live shows here on YouTube. We're now 9 p.m. BST every Sunday. The clocks have changed here in the UK. They've gone forward, which means it's light outside now. I've closed the window, but it's technically light outside almost. It's getting a bit light in the air, which is nice. We get more weather, etc. It's hopefully going to be good weather this week down here in Bristol. Lots of sun. So I'm escaping the sort of Captain Jack office to go take a look. It'll be fun.
I love the switch to BST. It signals the time where the fun begins. You know, I've taken the dog out for free walks today, so she loves me. The animals always get confused when the times change because they're like, "Are we going out now? Can we go now?" So I just take them out multiple times, and you know they're happy with that. But yeah, summer's on its way. You know, slowly but surely, and it's about time that TrekLad HQ around this time starts getting quite hot. So we might have to bust out the aircon before you know it. It might get to that uncomfortable Borg level temperature, so the collars might come down a little bit, maybe.
I've got the same thing with like my flat because it's like a modern one. It's like all right in the winter, but in the summer, Jesus, you wish you wouldn't hear because it is so hot, especially like last year we had that whole week of like really hot weather, and people in America be like, oh, it's only like 25 degrees, that's nothing. It's like we're not used to it.
I did a post last year when it was really hot. It was like 35 degrees here, which for us is like, you know, take all your clothes off, the skin's burning, you know. So I posted the picture of Cisco fighting Gul Dukat in the fire cave, and I got people from Australia going, well, "That's nothing, mate. That's like 2 degrees over in Australia, man." And I'm like, "But for me, it's hot. It was too hot. It was too hot." So
our houses are built to withstand the cold. So when it gets hot, we're just sounding like a roast chicken.
Yeah. Well, this studio, it's too cold in the winter, too hot in the summer. There's no happy. So I mean, I'm just gonna be uncomfortable.
At peak
all this time.
December, like when it's really cold, that is basically my flat. I'll be stood here in like a coat going, what the hell is this? Because I'm too cheap to turn the heating on like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's like, so I taking meetings like a full coat going, yes, I understand. Anyway, if you want to keep up to date with Trek Central Weekly, you can of course subscribe to us here on YouTube. We are live every Sunday at 9 p.m. BST with myself and TrekLad and the various guests and hosts, etc. And as we go through the year, we're gonna have a ton of stuff to discuss, etc. However, if you do want to keep up to date with the audio side of this as well, you can head over to trekcentral.net/tc-weekly to find all the details on the podcast format and go there. A couple of episodes being uploaded as of tomorrow, as well, a bit of a backlog, but you catch them all there, etc. Then every other episode goes live on a Wednesday, so you can keep it up to date. And obviously, podcast format's very cool. We actually have some exciting podcast news coming soon on how we're working with some other podcasts through the Trek Central sort of network to help people out. So keep it on the website. We'll be making an announcement probably either this week or next week. Some exciting news and a project I've been working on for a while. Speaking of just general stuff, in general, well, that's generally how general goes, isn't it? We've had nothing major to talk about the last couple of weeks apart from the Strange New World stuff, so no new news topics. There has been a string of new merch come out or been announced in the last couple of weeks. Have you seen that? We discussed the Funkos, etc.
Well, we've seen the Funkos, but what's the new merch that's currently available?
Well, one thing I do want to quickly, before I forget this, did you see the Star Trek Voyager journey has surpassed 1 million now for the new documentary?
Star Trek fans are the best. Just
Honestly.
the best. I mean, I pledged like, I don't know, 15 quid just to make sure that I got the digital release, whatever it was. But to hit that mark, and now they're pretty much surpassing their original stretch goals as well, and it's so exciting. And I think what this does is it demonstrates to the production company and to Star Trek that there is an appetite for these behind-the-scenes documentaries. The chat's going to go absolutely wild when I say I've not actually seen the Deep Space Nine one yet because I'm kind of in denial. I don't want it to be over, but I hear great things about it. And yeah, I know, but I think this demonstrates that there's a huge appetite for these behind the scenes, for these gathering of the cast back together again. I want to see an Enterprise one. I know you do, Captain Jack.
Yes, I'm hoping we'll get that. I think that may be their next project after Voyager.
Yeah, I mean, it should do. I mean, we also had Connor Trenier in the original, I think it was a Kickstarter video, which was quite funny. So I'm sure they're thinking about it. I'd love to see it. But yeah, so awesome. And again, just testament to the power of this wonderful fan community. So if you are one of the people that donated to the Kickstarter campaign, give yourself a pat on the back. It's happening.
We'll be covering the up-to-date news on the Voyager documentary in a news video this week, hopefully coming on Tuesday, so be on the lookout for that one, which is really cool we've got to that. It's honestly fantastic. Quick one, while I've got everyone, Star Trek Lower Decks is arriving on Blu-ray very soon. I believe this is on... Yeah, I did have the date in front of me, but it's disappeared off my screen. Nice. It's arriving on Blu-ray, DVD, and a limited edition steelbook very soon. It's either in April or May, I believe. I think it is in... Let's have a look. May 18th, there you go. That's when Lower Decks arrives, so you can bring it on home on Blu-ray, DVD, and limited edition steelbook, which looks very nice. I am tempted to get the steelbook because I feel like it looks very good as a collector's edition, to be honest. Yeah,
only true fans buy steelbooks, right?
It's true.
And Lower Decks was so wonderful. It's steelbook. I'm gonna buy a digital release. I don't have to buy a digital release. We've got Amazon, but steelbooks. Sign me up. I want to see what tasty behind the scenes content that we've got as well, because Mike McMahon has been very open about the documenting the production of that Lower Decks series, and yeah, I'd love to get some extra tidbits if possible, maybe some commentary tracks on some of those episodes. Excited for that home release. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm hoping, like I say, commentary tracks will be very good, especially with all the Easter eggs. I'd love to hear from his mind about all the Easter eggs, etc., and what he's put in there and how that's gone down. That'd be really exciting, I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just looking forward to doing another rewatch and perhaps doing a drinking game. Every time there's an obscure Trek reference that I have to hit up in the alpha, do a shot, have a good time with it. You don't really need to drink to watch and enjoy Lower Decks, but that
would actually be kind of fun to do. Join us in a couple of weeks' time for that version of TC Weekly. We'll be drunk, but at the end of it, probably. Obviously,
10 minutes in.
This week, or this week just gone, was a week celebrating Leonard Nimoy's 90th birthday as well, which is fantastic. And such a shame we lost him as well. And look back, there's a mock-up of what a memorial is being in his hometown of Boston, USA. They've decided to declare the whole day as Leonard Nimoy Day to mark pride for their native son. They've also proposed a permanent memorial to more of the actor essentially. And the concept for that is really cool. You can check us out on Treks.net on our latest article about the weekly news roundup. The memorial is basically the Vulcan hand salute, and it looks really nice. I would love to go and visit that, to be honest. It'd be fantastic. It's like that statue of Janeway that was unveiled, I think it was last year now. Or was it earlier this year? It was either last year or earlier this year. I'd love to go and visit that somewhere. I think it's in Montana, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And yeah, it's just such a lovely gesture. And I love the statue design as well, because I think Leonard Nimoy would have wanted something that would have had, would have been not like I don't think he would have wanted a statue of Leonard Nimoy. I think the iconography of the Vulcan salute, something that he helped shape, something, such a instrumental part of his character, and filling out the rest of the Vulcan mythology. Lovely move, and yeah, it was a lovely day. Some wonderful tributes to such a titan of Star Trek. 90 years old, he did live long and he did prosper, but he's still very, very sorely missed. The soul of Star Trek, as I said on Twitter the other day.
Producer TJ just told me they are trying to raise funds for this memorial project currently. You can visit details on treks.net. I don't have a link in front of me right now. The Science Museum are doing a fundraiser for memorial, so if you want to donate to it and make it reality, you can go and do it. I'll definitely be hopefully make a donation to that when I finish this episode, because I think that's a great idea, and I'd love to visit that in person when we can travel around again and have fun. In terms of videos this week, we released a few videos here on TC, that's us, Trek Central's channel. I did a video on what really happened to the USS Enterprise D. I'm loving writing my lore videos at the minute. They're very fun to write, etc. So yeah, we don't know what happened to the Enterprise D, but we do have like a mile-long attempt of theories about what supposedly happened to that lovely Sovereign class, which they've not told us about yet.
And I think that's one of the awesome things about the Trek Central channel, and other content as well, is that we do have lots of lore out there, but to fill in the gaps. And for fans to come together and share their theories. I love putting together theories. The universe is our oyster, and it's so amazing to see just how imaginative some people can be. And I really loved your Enterprise video. I'm not just saying that because I'm on the live stream part of the team, but it was a really good video, and absolutely knocking it out of the park when it comes to those lore filling in the gaps videos. Really, really cool. Pat on the back, Captain Jack.
I love diving into like the deep lore of Star Trek in a way, especially like the memory beta content as well, because like the extended history of books, etc., which we'll be discussing on the second half of the stream with Destiny and the Litverse, is a fantastic element to like what could have been in the Star Trek universe as well. Like, obviously we have the series now, rewriting parts of it, but before we just had books and comics, etc., and it's still nice to draw from those to go, okay, well, we've got this on screen now, this could have happened, because we know the writers are looking at it in a way and drawing from it. Even Mike McCann himself has done stuff out of Lower Decks, so it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it later on, but I've got my own kind of thoughts and, like I said, confessions when it comes to the lit universe. But I do love the fact that such a thing exists. And I just wish that perhaps some of the productions that are running today would lean on such a rich universe of material. I mean, how many books do you think exist in the Star Trek lit universe alone? Like, I mean, you'd run out of numbers, surely. I mean, it's going back to 1979 and perhaps even earlier as well. So much material, so much stuff, so much imagination. And yeah, I'd like to see Discovery perhaps yoink a book out of the bookcase and go, oh, this is a potentially good story to use in season 4, 5, or 6.
One of the new Star Trek Picard books, which is The Dark Veil, which I have on my shelf, something sort of see in the corner, that actually drew from some of the older books as well. So The Dark Veil is technically considered into the canon now, as it fits in with Star Trek Picard, etc. Slightly. Obviously, the books are never considered fully canon to a degree. There's lots of debates of that. It's kind of a well-known fact that if a TV show jolts something out of the way in a book is not canon, essentially. However, the new Dark Veil book, which follows Riker and Troy's adventures on the Titan before they appear in Picard and retire, it mentions a character called Christina Vale, who was also mentioned in the Litverse books on the Titan as Riker's first officer and eventual captain of the Titan, essentially. So technically it's re-canonized her. One studio which does this really well and sort of taking elements from the extended verse is obviously Star Wars. They take elements from their legends to bring into the canon, essentially. I really kind of wish Trek would do something like that. Like say, okay, these books are no longer mainline canon, however these are in a way. Yes, it would make things a bit more difficult, but if one studio can do it, another can do it. I just think then it would give more reason to read the books, etc. Yeah, it's a good reason now, but it's like, okay, cool. You don't need to read the book to understand the show, but it's almost like an added extra. It's like seconds. You can go back to and enhance your experience.
Yeah, and for you in the chat, I'd love to know what is your favorite Star Trek book.
Yes.
Let us know in the chat. When it comes to what Star Wars have done. Now, I remember that a lot of people were quite upset when they basically took the rich books, which I believe were canon, and then, correct me if I'm wrong, and then they basically went, no, that's just the legacy stuff that goes into a separate universe, and we're releasing a whole load of books. Star Trek, to my knowledge, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, has always been very much, books are not canon. They're not canon at all. I don't even think the novelizations of the movies are. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a case of Star Trek probably wanting to have their cake and eat it too. They know that these books are going to get made. And I guess what they probably want to do is not potentially bog themselves down in, say if someone releases a series of books about John Harriman and the Enterprise B, and that's in canon universe stuff, and they go, oh, we can't make a show. I mean, you could make a show, you could just adapt the book, but I think that they like to keep the two universes separate, which I think has some good attributes and some bad ones for sure.
I definitely agree. I just saw Dom says in the chat here, I think he says, our number I think is true, don't quote me, there have been around 2,400 stories in comics and books for Star Trek. That is impressive if that is true, because boy, you wouldn't have enough time to read them in a way. That'd be mental.
And it's wonderful. It's an embarrassment of riches, isn't it? We've simply just got too much material. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are some dedicated fans who almost exist entirely in that print universe, and awesome, because I do feel like you can do things in print, in books, that you just simply cannot do on the screen. And in the very few books that I have read, the imagination running wild of certain authors is a wonderful thing to read. And yeah, that's a lot of material.
I know. I totally agree with you there as well. Like, books, they allow you to do certain things you cannot do on screen. And you always hear this when we talk about the Expanse books, then the TV show, or Game of Thrones books, then the TV show, etc. It's always the case. Quick thank you to Danny Shields for donating €5. I love theorizing, but it drives me mad when people on a show because it didn't pay off the idea in the head. Yeah, that is always the trouble with theorizing. I think when you theorize anything or speculate, I know people always come at us with speculating stuff. I personally speculate because I like doing it. It fills my time essentially. You should keep your expectations and your expectations in check, really. It's like, yeah, I'd love it if XYZ happened in Starship Picard season 2, Odyssey class, but yeah, unless it fits the story, it's not going to happen. See, I think you do have to tame your expectations. It's about getting carried away with anything, really. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. I do feel like there has been, I think it's something that's always been there. People don't like it when something doesn't go their own way. You remember you might not know, but I remember the fan backlash when Captain Kirk died in Generations. People hated it. People hated the idea because it's this, the uber hero being killed in such a manner. And someone made a really good argument last year on Twitter, and they said that, sometimes our heroes just don't die heroically and in the way that we want them to. Not everybody dies like King Leonidas in 300 with the 400,000
You made the joke.
arrows.
But I wouldn't know. Star Trek Generations came out in 1994. That was 4 years before I was born.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry, making me feel old again. But yeah,
Enterprise
it's just
came out when I was technically alive, so there's one there.
People don't like it when things go the way that they don't go the way they want, which I think is always a really strange way to critique a show. I personally like it when a show does something that I don't want to happen.
I completely agree with you. One thing I hate lately, and I've had this with video games and sci-fi shows, if I can, I feel like I've watched enough sci-fi stuff now and consumed enough media, but I can spot stuff happening from a mile away, and it's really sucks sometimes when you review content as well. I think, yeah, if that ship explodes in the next 5 minutes, I called it, and if it does, you think, oh, for God's sakes. It's like a lot of games I played, etc., stuff like that. Like, oh, he's turned into a bad guy. Who could have seen that? It just makes the whole experience boring for you. Like, I love it when my expectations are blown out of the water. I'm like, damn, I did not see that coming. It's like with Discovery, etc. Some of the stuff they pulled out of there in season 3, I was like, wow, okay, I didn't see that coming, etc. And then even Mandalorian as well. That has probably been in the last couple of years. That as a series has completely blown me away in terms of throwing my expectations at the wall. I love speculating, and you probably see me do this on Twitter all the time about what's happening. But yeah, it's.
But we were talking earlier about the fun of speculating, the fun of theories, and I do feel like it's always been there in any fandom. It has become more more and more of a thing, more visible, more prevalent in each fan community, obviously with the rise of the internet. But it's just, I think when people get the idea in their head, they formulate a theory. Like, for example, most recently with Discovery Season 3, people were speculating and theorizing on the cause of the burn. Everybody got in their heads that it was going to be the Omega particle. They were never going to use the Omega particle. It was never going to be a thing. It was good for people making videos for the clicks, but it wasn't going to happen. And I think people were upset that their theories that they'd spent time putting together just weren't happening, weren't coming. I like it when I theorize and it doesn't happen, because I'm like, okay, so they've decided to go a different way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But Star Trek isn't just a universe; it's a process. It's an ongoing process. So yeah, I think people just need to be a little bit less sensitive. Not sensitive. I think people just need to be less precious when it comes to their theories.
I think it's taming expectations, isn't it? Like we said earlier, it's like you just got to be careful that it's not going to happen in a way. So I think that's the best way to do it in a way.
And sometimes when something happens and it's a theory that I put together, I'm kind of disappointed. I'm like, I kind of wish that hadn't happened now.
I know. It's like if you predict something, you think, you're gonna ruin the suspense in a way, isn't it?
It's like predictable.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't like to as much as I like theorizing and having fun with it. If I predicted everything I'd watch, I just wouldn't enjoy it anymore, and I probably wouldn't watch it. Like if I could predict everything with Star Trek, it'd be great for the views and clicks, etc. But it'd also be really boring for me, and then also watch it at the end of the day. So I think Seal 0626 says in chat, got to keep the distinction between it would be cool to see this happen or am I totally going to do it? Exactly, yeah. It's cool to think, it'd be cool if the Enterprise showed up in Picard, but they're totally not going to do that in a way. Thank you to Danny Shows again for 10 years in Nation this time. Don't forget, guys, if you want to support the channel here at Trek Central, you can, of course, become a YouTube member to support our videos and us when we eventually go to events, etc. Or you can drop a super chat on the stream and we'll answer your question. TrekLad, do you want to answer that one, as I believe your name's mentioned in it?
Falling in love with TrekLad a bit. Ooh. My word. I mean, just wait until you know me more. Fandom appreciating the stories presented instead of railing against anything that conflicts with their headcanon. Revolutionary.
Shocker.
Yeah, we all want to be Nostradamus, and we all want to be, the big, powerful, nth degree Barclay brain. It's nice when our theories happen. But when they don't happen and people decide that they didn't like that, I mean, do we want to be entertained? We want to be entertained when we watch Star Trek, don't we, Captain Jack?
Of course, yeah. You want to be entertained. That's why we watch stuff at the end of the day.
Do you want it all to be mapped out so you can just you know what's going to happen ahead of time? No,
really
not really.
Exactly. So we're going to cover some Star Trek Discovery news now. Obviously, we know Season 4 is currently in process of filming out in Toronto, Canada. This has been known for a while now. I believe they started filming in November, December. Obviously, COVID has delayed and pushed things around timeline-wise. They are scheduled to originally finish filming in July, August. However, it does appear that filming has been extended to at least, in quotation marks, September. These reports come from Toronto Filming, also by the website Blog 2. We have covered this in tweets, etc. And I'm currently reading this on the heavy.com website. We're releasing things in a news video this week, probably the Earl Grey report hosted by me this time, talking about that. However, now obviously filming could be extended due to various amounts of reasons. Potentially COVID is delaying things. That is likely a thing, especially for third wave going through Europe right now, and hopefully it's end up in the UK. However, according to a union website, etc., which is IATSE or IATSE, production of Discovery has only been pushed back to mid-August, though Discovery is not explicitly listed as on the current productions page. This is also coming down to a few things. However, Discovery does have filming names, etc. So there is now a lot of theories and speculation if it has been extended or delayed. Will Discovery release by the end of 2021? That is what Paramount Plus confirmed for Season 4 Discovery during their February stream. Lower Decks would be released at the end of 2021 along with Discovery. TrekLad, do you think we are going to see Discovery at the end of this year, or do you reckon it's going to get pushed to 2022? And that's that one for me.
No, I don't think so. I think that there will be an announcement of a delay, and personally, I think that's a good thing. I would like them to avoid rushing.
Yeah.
This, at the end of the day, we're all here and we're all collected because of our love of Star Trek. But what's more important, weekly adventures or the long-term health in our communities? You just have to, no pun intended, but our communities and the health of the people that we live with and the people that we love is paramount right now. And, if that means that we have to push back Discovery a little bit later, then so be it. A lot of people moan about the gaps between seasons, just in front of me here, the gap between season 1 and 2 was 11 months. The gap between season 2 and 3 was 16 months. Legacy Trek used to have gaps of about 3 months in between seasons, but people have to remember that that was 1994. You know, the world has changed, TV production has changed. It seems to me that they wait until they wrap up a season now before they reassemble a writer's room and start putting together concepts and ideas. So the process takes longer, but COVID is slowing everything down. It is slowing everything down. It's caused so much disruption. And, the silver lining of all this is Strange New Worlds is in production. It's inevitably on its way. I mean, that's probably also going to be a 2022 show.
Yes.
Lower Decks potentially has the shorter turnaround time. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised if we didn't get a second season of Lower Decks.
I think what we do know is, thanks to Paramount Plus confirming, Star Trek Lower Decks was on plan to release. I believe that has mostly been completed as well. Prodigy is also scheduled for this, so we know we are getting at least 2 Star Trek shows this year in Prodigy, an animated series, and also Lower Decks season 2. We've already seen season 1, so that's something to look forward to. So we're not only getting a new show, but also a second season of a much loved show as well, one that's definitely captured a lot of the audience.
Yeah, and people will go, "Oh, animation, I'm not really there for it." I mean, it's your loss. Lower Decks is fantastic.
Just, you know.
Oh yeah, do give it. I mean, there are people going, "Yeah, I watched 2 episodes and I didn't like it." Well, watch the back 5 of the first season, because they are truly spectacular.
It's also like really short and easy to get into. Like, you don't have to invest in it. You could probably pick up any random episode of Lower Decks and just jump into it. It's made almost a bit like a classic Trek, where it doesn't matter what you start as, you could probably just go, "Hang on, this is really interesting. Actually, this is really funny," you know.
And they live and breathe by classic Star Trek mantra, which, a lot of people gloss over. People don't realize, they just think that there's, crazy shenanigans and people swearing, beep swearing, all that kind of stuff. But there is an undercurrent of pure Trekkiness in there, particularly in those last 5 episodes. They're seen throughout the entire run. But yeah, I'm excited to see season 2 in 2021. Prodigy, also very excited to see. But if we have to have a delay, to ensure safety, so be it. We can live a little bit longer.
Exactly.
We waited 16 months for season 3 Discovery. I'm sure we can wait a little bit longer for season 4.
Of course, Discovery season 3 only began in November, roughly. It was October, if I remember correctly. So,
of course, yeah.
It's still less than 12 months. So it feels like it ended ages ago, but it's not that long ago, actually. It was only in January. Then again, we're already about to be in April. This year is going hella fast for some reason. It feels like it anyway.
It is, absolutely. And when you've got a baby on the way, it's going even faster, which is
counting
absolutely
down
crazy.
those days.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the thing is with season 4 Discovery, there is a lot to work out. They kind of laid out a bit of a mission statement in the final episode of season 3, which is great. But I guess there is some thinking to be done with, how they're going to break the story for season 4. I'm sure the writers' room are already in the process of doing that to some degree. But would we like to see a return to that episodic way of Star Trek? I think Discovery is too entrenched, in its format now, and Strange New Worlds is going to kind of pick up that lighter Star Trek storytelling anyway. So yeah, I'm excited to see what we get with season 4. But again, to repeat myself, I'm patient. I can wait.
Definitely. It's going to be an interesting year regardless. Like, obviously, Strange New Worlds is also currently filming as well, so we've got to look forward to. I see a question from Eric in the chat. Any idea when Picard Season 2 will air? Picard Season 2 is just getting underway filming. Do not expect that this year. I can happily, safely say that. Probably bet on it, you will not see Picard this year. It'll probably be, I'm going to predict, mid next year, probably. I'm going to say mid 2022, because if Discovery is filming now, that would likely air in Q1 to Q2 if all things go to plan. If Picard's filming right now, I'm going to say maybe mid, or Strange New Worlds is mid. I think Strange New Worlds and Picard are going to contest whether they air next year. So yeah, next year is obviously going to be a very big year for Trek, which is exciting, a big year for a lot of sci-fi stuff as well. So we've got a lot of Star Wars stuff on the way. It's going to be a busy year.
It's going to be busy, but it's fun. It's a
stuff
good
to do,
time to be alive. Absolutely.
At the minute, it's like I'm not watching any of the new Marvel or Disney Plus stuff, so like I'm not waking up every week going, "Oh, there's something to look forward to." Like, there's no Star Wars on for me at the minute, so I'm like, oh, "Okay, cool." If anything, it's kind of relaxing for a change, having to race around trying to review or watch something.
It is, but here's a question for you, Captain Jack, and here's a question as well in the chat. I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think that we are running the risk potentially of a bit of a traffic jam when it comes to Star Trek productions? Because obviously COVID is disrupting the ongoing live action productions. The animated series, we take them out of the equation for the time being, but we've got Picard, we've got Strange New Worlds, and we've got Discovery. That's free live action shows. I know they're running for about 10 to 15 episodes per season, so it's not like they're going to be running all year concurrently. But do you think and given the fact that people, when Enterprise, when they pulled the plug on Enterprise, people were claiming franchise fatigue. Do you think that we are running the risk of potentially watering down Star Trek too much and wearing people out with just production after production after production?
Yeah, one thing I just immediately came to mind there is like when we just said like next year's gonna have Picard, Lower Deck, or Picard, Discovery, Strange New Worlds. It's gonna be a very tight year anyway. Obviously, I think most of the seasons are around about 10 episodes anyway now, so it's like 10 weeks. We had 23 weeks of Trek as it just gone this year. It's gonna be a very busy year. So it's like, I mean, burnout and oversaturation is always a concern, I think. But spacing it about, I think when like Kurtzman says and the other execs say Trek on all the time, it's not gonna be a thing where it's literally gonna be like, bam, you've got all the Trek right now. I think it's gonna be spaced out at least by a couple of weeks. And it's going to be something different. I think we treat modern Trek like a buffet table in a way. If you fancy a light-hearted series, you've got Lower Deck, etc. Fancy a dramatic and story-driven series, you've got Picard. Fancy a bit more action-y series, you've got Discovery in a way. And maybe a more classical one, you've got Strange New Worlds. So not every series is going to be for everyone. And you can already see some people love Discovery, but don't like Picard, or vice versa. Or some people love Lower Decks, yet don't like any of the modern Trek. Therefore, I think like not everything on Star Trek right now is going to be for everyone, and that is totally fine. You can compare this to other things as well, like Disney, WandaVision, that's not for everyone. Falcon and Winter Soldier, those are two different shows, they are not for everyone. Same with Star Wars, Mandalorian's not for everyone, same way the animated shows aren't for everyone. I can see fatigue incoming for Star Trek, however, I don't think it's going to be as bad as maybe back in ye old days where we had Voyager, DS9 and TNG sort of all in their collective space for one was dropping off of another, because those shows, while different, were still in a very similar vein, if that makes sense. DS9 started differentiating itself towards the end bit, or towards the mid and end, where it's been more darker series and the more like, rougher one, I guess you could say, where Voyager was still keeping an optimistic Starfleet approach. So yeah, I think there's gonna be enough differentiation to keep people happy. That's my 10 cents on it.
I mean, that's just us being nice, positive people. And think of the content. Think of the content.
Exactly. Think of the reviews. Oh my god. Think of the Trek Central Weeklies we can host.
Just this with Star Trek. Just dollar bills everywhere.
Injected into my veins. So one thing I want to talk about while we're still here is obviously Star Trek Destiny. Now, we do know there is new books coming soon, which is going to tie up a Litverse with Star Trek. And this is something I want to talk about. And I'm going to go here. So you've not read Star Trek Destiny or many books before, have you?
No, thanks for yes. Yeah, I've not. I have, honestly, I've got right next to me, I've got about 100 books. I've got some books next to me, got some books behind me. I've been collecting Star Trek books since I was about 12. How many have I read? I think the last Star Trek book I read was... They do. They make me look smarter than I really am. Yeah, I think the last book I read was The Eugenics Wars by Greg Cox, a wonderful two-set book. But I think it was about 2004, the last time I read a Star Trek book. Absolutely just horrific. But I've got some catching up to do. So I'm going to let you lead on this one, Captain Jack.
You're saying about they make you look smarter. If I ever get like a nice flat in the future, I want like one of those like, authentic bookcase sticks. I was property viewing recently, and this flat had this like bookcase in the middle essentially, so it sort of came out in the wall. And like, well, filling out books would be great. However, I do it where it's all books that look very authentic and fancy. You open them up, it's just like a whiskey bottle in the middle, essentially, like break in case of emergency. That'd be a great idea. It's like, can I read one of your books? No.
Or you get those lovely classic leather-bound books hollowed out, and you open it up, and there's a Star Trek book in there. Perfect.
Mint condition.
Perfect, right? Yeah.
So Star Trek Destiny, now, this is one of my favorite book series for all of Trek, and I'm pretty sure some people in chat know of it and have read it before. So it was released as an omnibus edition in 2012 as well. Star Trek Destiny, spoiler alert, does cover some continuation from Star Trek Nemesis on. It also sees crossovers between DS9, Voyager, Enterprise and the Next Generation cast, etc. So yeah, I'll read you the summary from a book jacket right now, as it sounds very interesting. Hopefully some of you will go and read this. We're not going to spoil too much of it, but we will be touching on the upcoming Coda trilogy as well. So this is what the book is described as. Half a decade after the Dominion War and more than a year after the rise and fall of Praetor Shinzon, Nemesis, the galaxy's greatest scourge, the Borg, returns to wreak havoc upon the Federation, and this time its goal is nothing less than total annihilation. Elsewhere, deep in the Gamma Quadrant, meanwhile, an ancient mystery is solved. One of Earth's first generation of starships, lost for centuries, has been found dead and empty on a desolate planet. But the discovery is so far from home has raised disturbing questions, and the answers harken back to a struggle for survival that once tested the captain and her crew to the limits of their humanity. I will interject here slightly, as we've covered this before, it's not a big spoiler. That first generation starship is actually the NX-02 Columbia, which was seen in Star Trek Enterprise, and that captain reference is Enrique Hernandez. And yes, it's a very thrilling story, a very sad one as well. Continuing on, from a terrifying flashpoint begins an apocalyptic odyssey that will reach across time and space to reveal the past, define the future, and show three captains from some destinies are inescapable. For Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise, defending the future has never been so important or so personal, and the wrong choice will cost him everything from which he struggled and suffered. For Captain William C. Riker of the USS Titan, which we see on lower decks by the way, the choice has already been made. Haunted by memories of those he was forced to leave behind, he must jeopardize all that was left in a desperate bid to save the Federation. As for Captain Ezri Dax of the USS Aberdeen, whose in Peter's youth is balanced by the wisdom of a many lifetime, the choice is a simple one. There is no going back, only forward whatever future awaits them. So Star Trek Destiny contains 3 books, Gods of Night, Mere Mortals, and Lost Souls. They are all available on Audible, or you can probably head down to Amazon or your local bookstore. I'd recommend that, and probably get them, etc. as very cool. It's by a series of authors. David Mack wrote, I think did you write all of them? I think he wrote all of them, actually.
Yeah, he wrote all of them. I've literally just hit this up on Memory Alpha, and I'm absolutely blown away, right? So David Mack wrote a trilogy of novels and released them in consecutive months from September to November 2008. It takes me a week to write 1,000 words for a script. Can I have some of this guy's brain, please? Like, that's incredible productivity.
So Star Trek Destiny is one of the greatest books I think I've ever read. Unfortunately, I don't have my copies of it anymore. I think they're in storage somewhere, but I'd love to get them. Or at least I might pick up the omnibus edition at some point. Or at least I think right now for the thumbnail of the stream, we're using the collector's edition cover as well, which just looks beautiful, as it has Captain Hernandez and also Ezri Dax on it as well. Eagle Boss are actually selling, or Hero Collector is selling models of the USS Aberdeen, which would be Dax's ship she commands as well, which is really cool. I'd love to see that in canon at some point. It's great. You can get it Star Trek Online.
That's really cool that Ezri made captain as well, because you would think that someone with so much experience, obviously there's some personality stuff to work out, but once the host, once the symbiont and the Trill host are joined, so much wealth of experience is unlocked. It would make sense that she'd be fast tracked to captain. But yeah, I mean, so here's a question for you again, Captain, and again for you in the chat. So this book series is obviously an acclaimed one. It's very, very popular with the fans from what I can see here. When they came and announced the continuation of Star Trek canon it's not canon, but when they announced Star Trek Online, and obviously with Picard coming along, are you disappointed that they didn't choose to incorporate elements from these books and by extension other books that have come out under the Star Trek banner? Do you think there's some wasted potential here to not take this, this book series and at least incorporate some of it into what we see on our screens?
Before I do answer that one, I missed a super chat earlier. Dan Shields, thank you for your $5 Euro donation again. I really want to see Strange New Worlds subvert the expectations of a light episodic series in its season one trying all of the eps together and exposing Big Bad. Could be interesting. We'll cover Strange New Worlds and expectations, probably another stream coming soon. Dan Shields, I won't forget that one. I'll note it down as well. If one of my team could screenshot that and put it in my admin chat, that'd be great. But yes, back to your question. Yes.
I think one thing for Danny quickly. Sorry to interject, Captain. Is what an idea that I would love to see with Strange New Worlds is them kind of utilize the Russell T Davies Doctor Who model when they brought it back in 2005. Tell episodic stories that don't seem to be connected by something.
Yes.
And then when you get to the end, there is this kind of big bad presence.
You mean like mystery. The whole bad wolf thing and Torchwood, etc. I would love that. When you go back and watch, I think I rewatched classic Doctor Who or what I call my classic Doctor Who, is that was when I was growing up. That was Doctor Who was on TV, not this old black and white stuff. No, it was basically like seeing like the mention like Bad Wolf. It's like, what does this mean? And then you get to the final, it's like, oh. And then Torchwood as well. That I love it because I love the spin-off and I love John Barrowman as well as Captain Jack, obviously. So I love that, etc. It was fantastic. But it would be really nice if another show did that. I feel like Discovery tried to do it with the whole Red Angel thing, but I also feel like it's like you dropped the ball on that storyline in a way, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I just don't think that they had properly planned it out. Yeah,
I think we could definitely go into discussion of like Discovery. I have problems with Discovery season 2 when it comes to the whole Red Angel thing. It was still a good season. However, the Red Angel thing, it's like just dropped this ball. Like, I feel like, you know, it was, they started off strong and then it sort of like pitted out halfway through. It's like, oh Jesus, we need to gaffer tape this back together quickly. Get the flex tape. Anyway, before we go down that wormhole, a new Star Trek book series coming this year, which just sort of ties in with Destiny in a way. It's in that same sort of Star Trek Litverse. This is the Coda trilogy and also DS9 Revenant as well. Plot details have revealed for the upcoming Star Trek Coda trilogy from authors Dayton Ward, James Swallow, and David Mack. David Mack wrote Star Trek Destiny's trilogy, which is really cool. So we know that's coming soon. Coda. Book 1 is called Moments Asunder by Dayton Ward. The sort of like biopsy or synopsis, I guess you call it. Reality itself is under attack. The epic Star Trek Coda trilogy begins with an unexpected arrival of an old friend triggers a desperate mission to avert a fast-spreading temple disaster. Coda Book 2, The Ashes of Tomorrow, which is a fantastic title, I must say, by James Swallow. The future is at war with the past. An epic Star Trek Coda trilogy continues as friends become foes. The temple apocalypse accelerates and the catastrophe's true cause is revealed. Yeah, words. It's a Sunday. Star Trek Coda Book 3, Oblivion's Gate. I love that title. And there's also a bit of art there. I've got it on my screen right now. There's a bit of like lovely art. You can find us on TrekStreet.net, by the way. Oblivion's Gate by David Mack. Jack just tabbed off his own page. That's fantastic. Their most daunting mission will be their finest hour. That's a really good like tagline there. The epic Star Trek Coda trilogy comes to a shattering conclusion as the temple apocalypse forces Starfleet's greatest heroes to make the greatest sacrifice of their lives. Unfortunately, no covers have been revealed at this stage of books, so we only know that one essentially. So yeah, really cool. Cannot wait to see the Coda trilogy. It will probably tie in with elements of a Litverse, which includes like Destiny and those other books. So that's something to look forward to. And I believe Coda is ending off the Star Trek Litverse and wrapping it up. So whether we are going towards the element of, you know, Star Trek going right, this is the old sort of like, you know, stuff of books. This is our new books in a way. That could be really cool. So yeah, we'll hopefully see it soon. How does it sound to you, by the way?
Oh, do you know what? I mean, as you're reading that off, the titles of these books are just amazing. They're stellar, and the synopsises as well are just beautiful. I mean, just looking at some of the titles I got, because I do have a collection of Star Wars and Star Trek books as well. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a Star Trek book or Star Wars book. The title is just delicious. The Crimson Shadow. It's just wonderful titles, and yeah, I mean, if I could be bothered to read a book, I would be reading these books for sure. But, you know, the thing is with, you know, as I was saying earlier, with this whole kind of, you write the book and it's not canon and it's all kind of disappointing. The thing is with you know, with Star Trek since 1966 and a little bit before when they were doing The Cage, I mean, since then we have essentially, and with the exception of the Kelvin universe, we've had one canon, one timeline, you know, one continuity, and that is almost unheard of, especially for a show as old as this. I mean, I know we got Doctor Who and we've got Star Wars, but Star Wars has kind of been splintered, and as is Doctor Who in previous episodes, you know, but is it time that we start thinking about potentially embracing what they're seemingly moving towards with the MCU and what they've been doing in the comic book universe for years and years and years? Multiverse, you know, surely Multiverse would just open up. You could have all of these books be canon because it doesn't matter, because there's infinite universes. You know, truly embrace the IDIC theory.
I love the idea. However, I will say, I think one thing we need to remember as well is we're obviously mega fans of Star Trek and Star Wars and all of that sort of stuff. However, there is obviously the majority, which is the just casual fans who come home after hard days of work, switch on and it's like, oh, Star Trek, cool, I'll watch that. And they understand it, which is no shame, that's fantastic. It's, you know, people who make up our franchise and fandom as well. However, I worry that Multiverse does have a potential to overcomplicate stuff and therefore confuse the average person. I would personally love it, because me and you will sit over a whiteboard all day and plot out the Multiverse, because we love that. However, I feel like the average fan make it a bit lost in that. Already, time and stuff does make understanding stories very happy. I know it was Endgame and Infinity War, whichever the movie's called. I was only watching clips of it today. That can confuse people. I think time travel can confuse people sometimes, which isn't me having a dig at anyone. It's just a known fact, essentially. So yeah. I think obviously one of the latest books talks about this as well, which is really cool, the idea of a multiverse. We recently discussed the idea of a Star Trek crossover thing. That could be interesting as well, and that could build into the multiverse idea.
Yeah, and you know, I just think that having the multiverse would open up the possibility of having that epic kind of end game, you know, kind of on your right, kind of amazing build-up scene. And you know, and you can do it with so much stuff. I mean, I guess maybe the ship's already sailed for, you know, the legacy books, but you know, I would like to see a show. Yeah, I know that Marvel are releasing, I believe, a What If show on Disney Plus. You know, let's do something like that with Star Trek. Let's do What If, you know, and there's probably a book series already for this, or a comic book series. What if Picard was assimilated by the Borg and stayed assimilated, and they'd actually conquered the Earth and stuff like that? And you know, let people run absolutely wild, not just in a literacy sense, but you know, on screen. You know, let's show a shattered, disheveled, annihilated Federation. Let's actually see Commander Riker with that long beard,
that'd be great.
screaming, you know, don't send me back.
That's fair. That builds back into our earlier conversation about, you know, speculation and things like that. What if the Dominion War, the Federation lost? Yeah. I would love to see that. You know, what if Voyager never made it home at all? You know, are we some sort of generation ship? A bit like how we saw in Enterprise, where, you know, the captain was the son of, I think, was it Trip and support me? I can't remember now exactly, but it was something like that. What if, you know? It's like a big question.
What if the Federation never happened? What if, you know, it went a completely different way? You know, what if Archer died during the Xindi mission? You know, who would become the first Federation president? You know, so many possibilities. You can open it up, have the multiverse. Yes, I completely admit, and I agree that it would potentially confuse people. It could also potentially water down what is a very strong continuity at this point. But there are ways around it. I mean, people have been reading comic books since they were made, and people enjoy whatever series they like. I mean, people are very particular about what they do, and maybe we can just do that for Star Trek as well. But whatever happens, we've got content, we've got ideas.
One thing Dom just pointed out in the chat though as well, the latest book, Dead Endless, is literally what if the Battle of the Binaries didn't happen. And that's like a good thing. So Dead Endless was, I think it was the right book, I can't remember. But it was like the idea, I think Burnham did end up captain, spoilers by the way, Burnham did end up captain of a Discovery, but you know, none of the war ever happened, etc. So it was literally just a proto ship researching mycelial technology. And I believe, Dom, correct me in the chat if you're available, they did make very interesting strides with mycelium technology, etc. And I believe there's communication arrays, etc., and more spore drives. So their like scientific research wasn't done for a war setting. It was put in very well. Worth a read if you get it. A lot of Star Trek books out there, fantastic, especially with Discovery tie-in ones. A lot of them are very strong books. I think one of my favorite ones, but one with Lorca, essentially. I can't remember the name of it now. Don, please do remind me in the chat. Danny Schultz, thank you for the €10 donation. The thing Trek needs to take from the MCU are not multiverse or crossovers. It's dedication to a story and characters, and working with creators to develop a project over time. Before I let you chime in on that one, I agree. Not just MCU. I think Disney at the minute, for their fault, they have a great handle on their universes. They've got multiple things with Star Wars, multiple things with MCU. They've got their map planned out probably till 2030 at least. What do you think on that note?
I mean, Danny single-handedly keeping the lights on. Shout out. Yeah, I would like to see Discovery embrace character a little bit more, and when I say that, I mean it expands to the ensemble. I want to know what Bryce's first name is, and I want an episode dedicated to them trying to like make a cake or something, just something really mundane. It is fairly well mapped out. You know, I'm obviously, like I said earlier, excited to see what they do with season 4, but I still think that there's scope for crossovers and for the multiverse. I do think that it would potentially ease things up a little bit creatively, but I do agree that the focus should be getting the characters right, getting the stories right, and I think that they are, you know, not trying to sound like a shill or anything, but they're on their way. You know, they're getting better. I mean, we are seeing an upward curve in quality, at least from my perspective anyway, an upward curve in quality for Discovery. Picard obviously has a lot of work to do, but these shows, as we've seen, not just recently, but since the early days of Star Trek, maybe the exception of the original series, is they're always optimizing, they're always getting better. And I have no doubt that will be a thing that will continue to happen as we move forward towards 2030.
I think like Trek is slightly late to the sort of like a big party of like crossovers and new sort of media essentially. Like Star Wars was prepping ahead of time. They had the Clone Wars essentially, and then obviously they launched the new projects of The Force Awakens 2015. Marvel had been going on since what, 2008? Whenever the first Iron Man film came out, then they spun into the Avengers in 2012. So they've been going for almost 10 years plus at this stage, like easily. Well, so Trek's a bit late.
It could be argued that Star Trek was the original media shared universe. I mean, because what we had TNG, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager running concurrently. We were having crossovers, left and right. I really would have liked to have seen them incorporate Deep Space Nine into First Contact, even if it was just for the, Battle of Sector 001. I know that there were plans to have Cisco in that movie. I have no idea why that didn't happen, because that could have spun off to Deep Space Nine movies. But, never mind, it's happened now. But I think that Star Trek has always been able to do crossovers quite well. It's a natural part because the universe is so big. There's so much scope.
And Star Trek is also more accessible for crossovers. I feel like it's like, oh, Q magically brought me here. When they had Riker on Voyager and stuff like that, and various things. Like I say, like Marvel, yes, obviously Multiverse is kind of easy to spin it around now. But classically, to have like certain characters appearing like Iron Man or Thor, it was really hard. And Star Wars was also a bit difficult because they didn't do time travel in Star Wars very often. So it's like it's a bit of a different one. So yeah, I feel Star Trek is there's potential. There is potential. I am very excited for the future of the Trek franchise. As I keep saying, and people can deny us whatever, we are in a new golden age of Star Trek right now. The second golden age, you could say, where we've got a ton of new content. There's merch. There's stuff flying around. We've got steelbook, etc. All this news. It is fantastic to be a Star Trek fan. I fucking messed it up there. Both really. We're both realistically. So yeah, get your friends into it right now, because honestly, don't miss out on this time.
Yeah, and the thing is I do think that there are lots of critics of new Trek, and I don't love it all. It's not perfect. The real golden age of Star Trek was the TNG, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, Voyager. But the fact is, we are getting Star Trek. That's a beautiful thing. That the Star Trek that we're getting visually looks absolutely just delicious. And for me, the biggest thing that I get, the most gratification that I get from what we're seeing today, is when you go to conventions, and it's something that I missed seeing last year, is when you go to a convention and you see like a 4-5-year-old kid, boy or girl, just walking down in a cosplay outfit, holding their mum and dad's hands, excited that they are there and meeting other fans and seeing, because they're the future. This is what we're doing right now. It's all legacy stuff, and I love the fact that Star Trek is happening. We're getting kids into it. This Prodigy show is going to be something special, I'm sure, and it's just for the kids. When my son grows up, I'm gonna force him to watch Star Trek for sure.
You will watch it. This is your homework.
Resistance is futile, but it's just a wonderful thing. And if you don't like the Star Trek that we're getting now, I didn't like Picard season 1, so I don't talk about it, and I just instead watch Enterprise season 3 and 4.
You tell me you don't like Enterprise season 1 or 2? What the hell, man?
No, actually, I take it back. So, do you know what? Funny thing, the first time I watched Enterprise season 1 and 2, I was just like, no.
It's grown on me for a while. I love it now.
Enterprise is one of the best aged Star Trek shows there is. I mean, it's aged so well, and I love the fact that people are talking more and more about it in a positive light. And I mean, you won't hear a bad word from me about that show ever.
I saw a few comments in the chat about what do you think Archer's return? We touched on this last week as well during our previous thing, but it seems to be a lot of more chat about it now. So maybe we'll cover that in a video soon. It's actually really interesting. But yeah, I'd love to see if they want to do something with Enterprise, again, I would love that because it'd be fantastic. Did you catch in Lower Decks, by the way, the season 1 ending where Riker with Titan, how he took the piss out of the Enterprise? I was like, I was just watching the Enterprise thing again, and really was a long road or something like that, or whatever he said. I'm like, that's just, you can tell everyone was laughing at that point,
Yeah, and Enterprise got a lot of love in Lower Decks as well. You know, the trip Sunday, trip sprinkles. You know, such a good line. Yeah, it's great that people are kind of coming around to it a lot more. And I'm even seeing on the Twitter sphere that people are starting to come around to the theme, because the theme, as we said last week, and we'll say every week, the theme is Star Trek. It's pure Star Trek.
I think I might have mentioned this last week, and I mentioned it again for those who weren't here. We was talking about Litverse, etc. In more Litverse and books, etc., Star Trek Enterprise, the story was continued on. We touched on this in one of our videos recently about the NX-01 refit, which would have been explored if Enterprise had a season 5. That's sort of half and half. But it was explored in the books and how more NX-01 refits came along. Columbo was refitted eventually. And then we also had the Endeavour and things like that, and T'Pol took command of the Endeavour, I think it was. We also had the idea that obviously when Trip died in Enterprise, he came back as a Section 31 agent under the name of one of his fake names was Michael Kenmore. If you're like me and a fan of Stargate Atlantis, Connor Chinner actually plays a villain called Michael Kenmore in Stargate Atlantis season 2, 3, and 4 and 5, I think. Well, 3 and 4, 3, 4, 5, which is really cool. So I love how it's written into the books as well, into Stargate Atlantis. It's like a really cool sort of crossover there, and I can't wait to explore that in a video soon. It's gonna be really interesting. But yeah, honestly, more Litverse stories. Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see the Coda trilogy, which is coming out this year as well. That's obviously something else to look forward to this year. More Star Trek conventions in book form.
So here's a question for you, Captain Jack. Right. So, as I've not read a book since 2004, I am literate to a degree.
Oh
I do
my
promise.
god!
I know. What book? And again, love to know from you guys in the chat. Is what book should I go onto Amazon after this and buy? Because if you give me a suggestion, I'll go and buy it, and I'll post on Twitter that I bought it. I'll prove it, and I will read it, and maybe by our next stream, if it arrives in time, I'll actually share a passage from it.
Chat, you can test your suggestions right now for TrekLad, what Star Trek book he should go and read or order, etc. I'm gonna say if you want to read the old Litverse, Star Trek Destiny is a definite one. Then move on to the Typhon Pact, essentially. However, if you want to read the new stuff, I'd recommend Picard: The Last Best Hope by Una McCormack, or The Dark Veil by James Swallow, I think it is. I'll read it off the top of my head now. I can't remember who it's by. Don't remind me. The Dark Veil. So yeah, I'd recommend Star Trek Destiny probably first for a very good read by David Mack. But new books, Last Best Hope, probably a good one as well.
Right, okay, so it's you and Tim, and I know Dom's told me behind the scenes as well that Star Trek Destiny is an absolute must-read. So I'm doing it right now. As soon as this latest episode of Trek Central Weekly is up,
Tim will chat saying as well.
Well, just before I launch into my watch party this week, I will go and buy Star Trek Destiny.
It better be proved for on Twitter, else we're not believing you.
I promise.
It clocked to me when we began the stream, by the way. You have a TrekLad written on your hat, by the way. I was thinking of getting. I've got an NX-01 sort of like patch on my desk somewhere around it. It's gone now, but I was going to put it on my hat as well because I'm just wearing like a black hat. It's really boring at the minute. However, I was going to put the NX-01 sort of red patch on my hat. So it's like Archer's hat here out of Enterprise as well. I've been tempted to do it for a while now.
Look, I mean, I'm gonna poke the hornet's nest here, but you're not a YouTuber unless you've got your logo on a cap, man.
I need to do that. Yeah, I have a minute. I wear this. Don't wear it to me. It's so warm out. But I have this really like cool jacket I wear around. It's basically a black jacket. Recently I've got the Stargate Atlantis patch on the left shoulder now, so I'm thinking of putting something on the right shoulder as well. It's either gonna be the NX-01 symbol, or I was thinking of getting like, you know, Enterprise, their jackets, they had like round patches. I thought I'd maybe get one of those as well. Like that could be really cool to stick on a jacket. Because it's nice because nobody knows what it is as well, so it's not like you're wearing like Star Wars merch somewhere. Like the Atlantis patch looks generally really cool.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to cosplay as anything, I'd probably cosplay as Enterprise because their jumpsuits were rad.
They're practical as well.
Yeah, but I'd like to get like a proper like old school army bomber style jacket and just load it with like Star Trek patches and stuff.
Yes, I really want to do that because I'm a big fan of Stargate. And if you watched that before, but they obviously have the US Air Force like, you know, jackets and ballistics, etc., and just the flight gear and all their patches all over. I would love like a Colonel O'Neill jacket or John Shepard jacket sometime to do that. I really want one, but I don't know if I can pull it off. So I might have to try it at some point because it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we've got Dom in the chat saying that we need a Trek Central beanie. I'd wear one, and I'm sure people in the chat and the viewers and the fans of the channel would. So there's a merch idea. There you go.
It's funny because they're right here on the shelf right now. If I hold it here, they're literally now in my office. Oh,
there we go. There we go.
They are eventually getting to Dom when I get to the post office at some point. Eventually we'll go there.
Don't deny him. He's the beanie master. He needs to rock the brand when we're out.
Well, yeah, when we can go to events again, that'd be interesting. A Trek Central beanie would be interesting to see. We'll get one out. I mean, if people are interested in like Trek Central merch, we have been toying with the idea for a while and like what branded and merch t-shirts we can do, essentially, you know, license permitting. So yeah, it's something we'll be interested in doing for a while. So if you'd like to see it, let us know. And, you know, it's something I will add to my ever-growing list of things to do.
So I'm making more work for you now, Cap.
Yes.
Sorry.
I sat here on Monday going, oh my God. Anyway, chat, thank you very much. We are going to end off our stream here as we've covered nearly everything for today. It's been a pleasure talking to you all as per usual for Trek Central Weekly on the 28th of March. TrekLad, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. My pleasure. It has all been mine. And thank you so much for joining us. See you again soon.
People are now asking where they can get the Trek Central beanie. What have we done? Soon it'll be on merch soon. Trek Central face mask. Maybe if we can donate proceeds to somewhere. I wouldn't want to charge one of those. That'd be a bit weird. But everyone, thank you very much for watching and listening to Trek Central Weekly this week. You can watch us here on stream every Sunday at 9 p.m. BST. We'll be back next week on April 4th for a special Star Trek First Contact Day stream with special guests and hopefully Dom as well. Discuss all First Contact things and all our favorite stuff from that essential area as well. You can of course catch Trek Central Weekly on podcast format as well, available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. That's the one I was forgetting. All the details over on trekcentral.net/tc-weekly, and you can find the details in the link below as well. For now, I've been Captain Jack. Live long and prosper, my friends, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.